Hey everybody, welcome on back.
Yep.
It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast with Spider and Large. On top of that, we have Quigs in a closet somewhere. We got Moonhead in an undisclosed location, and we have Owen behind the ones and twos, making sure everything looks tight. How's everybody doing? Spider, we have some decisions to make this week when we're finalizing Talladega. I'm going to start off with that. There's a glamping thing that you sent me. I made a call to the young lady yesterday. For people who are listening or don't know too much about Barstool, we do everything last minute because when you do stuff last minute, it's always worse and more expensive. So that's what we try to do as often as we can do. So since most of the luxury hotels in Pell City are sold out, we were thinking about doing the camping thing on there. It's one tent, teepee style, 4 twin beds, no bathroom, but there is limited Wi-Fi and there is electricity in there. And the bathrooms and showers we can use were shared with just other people in that tented area. It's what they're calling glamping. But I did some glamping once with my family. Footed tubs, you know what I mean? I had manservants, all that kind of good shit.
Is this
You know what
where
I mean?
we got the iconic video of you trying to like save a turtle and the guy wiped out? Or
Yes, exactly. With the old man who tried to say that the old man fucking ate it. We'll move that in there right now. So we're got to figure that out this week, whether or not Spider and I will be boots on the ground at Talladega, and I can't fucking wait. But we also might be boots on the ground without a shower in 3 or 4 days. Because I'm not taking a shower in a half inch of somebody else's water. I refuse.
Yeah, that's
I'm at this
crazy.
point in my life, I've worked too hard to.
Large, what I'm gonna let fate kind of determine whatever happens there. Ideally, we stay at a traditional hotel, but at the same time, we might have missed the boat on that. So let's see what happens.
I think we're still flying into Birmingham, whatever you want to call it. Birmingham, like I'm a fucking Peaky Blinder.
Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham, mate.
You are an Alabama local at this point.
I am, yeah. Oh, I'm in Tuscaloosa the following week for graduation too. So I'm going to spend, I think, 8 out of 10 days or 11 days. I'm spending 8 of them in the great state of Alabama, and I couldn't be more happy about it. Before we get started, Joe Gibbs Racing is adamant that Chris Gabehart violated a temporary restraining order while attending the races at Bristol. I'm sorry. I'm just going to get this out of the way because I fucking love it. Gabehart has been photographed several times by JGR. This time, Joe Gibbs Racing submitted photographs of Gabehart in the infield during the Cup Series track sessions at Bristol, wearing a radio headset without a microphone, but also standing in a pit road workstation and standing near Cup Series driver Carson Hocevar. I'm still in love with this. There's nothing to report here. Nothing to report except that Joe Gibbs is still going through Chris Gabehart's garbage whenever the fuck they can.
Yeah.
What's the end game here, Spider? Is it
I don't
something where
know.
somebody? Yeah.
I have a couple takes on this, and I absolutely hate it from the Joe Gibbs perspective. I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't know.
Go.
This was a great weekend for them. Historic win for Ty Gibbs. I mean, I was almost brought to a tear watching him celebrate with his mom and grandfather there. Very iconic and, just great moment. We've been talking about when Ty Gibbs will get his first win for how long. And to me, that should have been the storyline of this weekend. And instead, we get limited media offerings from Ty Gibbs, and the narrative this week out of Joe Gibbs is not about his win and success. It's rather about a lawsuit, which, to be quite honest, I'm getting tired of this bullshit. These guys are all super well off, and it's kind of exhausting to just see rich people sue each other all the time. At some point, when are we going to put down the swords and just kind of, I don't know. This was a great opportunity for Ty to kind of do what he did previously, put his money where his mouth is and say, you know what, we're better off without some of these people that might have been detracting from our team, and just let his actions do the speaking. And instead, it sounds like we're not going to be speaking at all. Instead, the only people that are going to be speaking are attorneys. So to be quite honest, I absolutely hate this narrative.
I love the fact that you had said that out loud because I think in any other circumstance, a first-time winner like Ty would be doing the media car wash.
Right.
This isn't us, we didn't get Ty Gibbs. We didn't. And I can understand why we didn't, because I wouldn't put that kid in a situation to talk to people who are non-traditional because we might pepper him with them. Did you see Gabehart with the headset on?
I don't know,
Were you there?
Large. You really think we're going to have fucking Ty Gibbs come on this show and testify?
No. But I think that if Ty Gibbs, I don't think we'd be as overt. I would make some veiled I would definitely bust his chops about it. Yeah. But I think that if he was to say what it seems to be his canned response, now that I'm surrounded by the right people, like, which is a dig at the last people, no matter what situation you're in. If he just kept saying that, I think that would be the soundbite that would whip around and possibly add to haters of him saying this spoiled fuck is talking about this guy. You know what I mean? I think it would cause an added wrinkle to what this is, what's already been a soap opera shit show.
I mean, Large, I'm guilty of everything that Chris Gabehart did that Joe Gibbs is accusing him of doing from following this weekend. Gabehart was photographed several times by Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs submitted photographs of Gabehart in the infield during the Cup Series track sessions at Bristol wearing a radio with a headset without a microphone.
Yep.
I literally was wearing a headset. They rent these headsets to fans without microphones by the thousands at every track. I was standing in Carson Hocevar's pit box at Las Vegas. Like, to me, I don't know. This seems like anything. If he's going to be at the track, he's going to be wearing a headset. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that he was working or contributing, nor was I working or contributing. Now, would I have came on the pod and jokingly taken success and credit should Carson have won that Vegas race? Absolutely. But at the same time, like, I don't truly believe I was part of that.
So should Gabehart embrace this and go to Kansas, wear a headset with a microphone, but spend the whole time on the phone with his wife? Have a pad and paper out like he's taking copious notes, but meanwhile just be writing his own fucking biography? Should he kind of lean into this so when they do ask for it, to be like, yeah, here's what I was writing the whole time, and it's just sketches of women with big tits, and here's the fucking thing that I was talking about the whole time. I was talking to my daughter about setting up her fucking birthday party. Like, I don't know where this begins and ends, but it seems like it's more of a PI, private investigator issue, than it is a NASCAR issue. And to your point, when it stops people from being able to talk about what is a watershed event in this young man's career,
for sure,
then it sucks. But in a vacuum, I'm kind of here. Like, I don't give a fuck about Alex Earl versus Alex, the other one. I really don't. Alex Cooper. I don't give a fuck about them. But for some reason, I give a fuck about this. So maybe this is my bitch moment. I don't give a shit. I'm going to embrace it.
Listen, I'm still going to be rooting for Ty Gibbs. And I also think that, like, now that he's got the monkey off his back, I think this 54 team could go on a deep, deep run this year.
Let's make some predictions about it in 2 seconds. But before I do, I just want to remind everyone that this podcast is brought to you in part by DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized gaming operator of NASCAR, is delivering the most generous rewards in the market no matter what happens on the track, because this isn't a race you bet and forget. It's one you react to. With DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're not betting what might happen, you're betting on what's happening. Lap by lap, caution by caution, live odds, stage winners, fastest lap, next driver to lead, as the pack tightens, as strategies shift, as engines roar. One restart can change everything. One pit stop can flip the field. So don't just watch the unexpected, bet on it. New sportsbook customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Rubbin so you're ready for the moment. That's code Rubbin for new sportsbook customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. I would say, like, after this weekend, I'm looking at some of the numbers. Numbers were down slightly overall, and the excuse for it is the Masters. The Masters drew 12 to 13 million viewers, peaked at nearly 20 million on CBS. It was the most watched golf telecast in 7 years. I don't know what the overlap is between NASCAR fans and Masters fans. To be honest, I really don't know, but it seems like every week there is a explanation on why these races aren't doing that well. I had seen Gluck's poll, and it came in somewhere in the low 60s. Do you guys think it's a low 60s race that we just watched? I'm going to disagree with it. I thought it was much better than a low to mid 60s race, and I will come clean. I listened to the first half of the race on the radio, so I caught the first half. So if you guys had like a brutal first and second stage, I didn't. The radio, I like listening to the race on the radio now, and then I caught the third stage at home on TV. I was driving back from Brooklyn, and so I had a delightful experience with it from beginning to end. Was it a bad? I mean, and maybe I reset my expectations knowing how Bristol has raced lately and whatnot. But was this a good race? I'll ask you. I'll go around the horn.
Yeah, I'll happy to start. I think it was a good race. And I'm not sure how much of that is impacted by me celebrating Ty Gibbs' win
Maybe.
and being happy to see that result, which I feel like every week after the race, we see the number, and then there's also context given who actually won and how that might impact
Right.
said rating. But no, I do think this was a good race. I mean, I think I would much rather see this race than the kind of Bristol dirt experiments we've seen with this race in years past. And to me, I think this was a good race. And, for the reason we saw drama and excitement throughout the race, we saw good drivers, very good equipment be several laps down, whether it be Christopher Bell, William Byron, you name it. And then you also simultaneously had new guys at the front. So, yeah, I'm prepared to say I was a little bit surprised to see the ratings on this race. Two things. One, I was surprised that the Cup race only got around a 60% approval rating, large as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I'm surprised by is how, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I did see a bunch of Twitter narratives this weekend about the rise of Xfinity and how Xfinity is closing the gap and they're getting more viewers. They're trending in the right direction, whereas Cup might be kind of trending downward. And eventually there might be a scenario in which Xfinity and Cup are pulling similar viewership, despite, just being a day apart. So I don't know. I am a little concerned and intrigued though. I do think this remains a massive problem. And I don't know what the simple quick fix is. Bristol's one of the most iconic tracks. It kills me to see what should be one of our best events not greatly attended. And see a lot of, vacancy in the audience. And, it's one thing, it's kind of become popular and normal, commonplace to see that at all these tracks. But there's something to be said when you're watching the Masters on the second screen and you're simultaneously watching one event that's, fucking people will dedicate their life to attending, even if it's one time for 1 year, and there will always be sellouts, max capacity. And then on the other side of the screen, you have NASCAR, which is like, a has-been. And that kind of kills me. And again, I don't know what the quick answer is, but I do think it's important that we work towards getting these numbers better.
Bristol's big, though.
That's right? what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's so like 150,000 seats if they did put, I know the numbers that they put somewhere around half that. So let's go low and say there was 70,000. It's still twice as much as you'll get in most tracks, right?
Yeah.
So we'll go out to Chicagoland, maybe sell out the 40,000 there. It'll be about half the gate that we pulled at what looked like an empty Bristol. I guess I don't look up in the stands too often, so I don't see it. I'm always amazed at how the stands clear out. When NASCAR race thing, they do that right. Everybody gets the fuck out. NBA game, boxing matches, you still got drunk English guys playing the trombone up in the fucking balcony. NASCAR gets them out of there, and it's impressive. But all right, yeah. So I could see that. But in all, it was a good race for you.
Yes.
Quiggs, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more a 70% race.
Okay.
Just drama, storylines, outcome, strategy. Like it had all those aspects of a race that it's not an all-timer by any means. Like I'm not saying it should be 80, 90, but yeah, I think it's better than a 60. Like we've had races before that I thought were not good and got around like 59, 60. So I would definitely give it a little bit more than what it got.
I'm going to ask Todd Gilliland too. Todd Gilliland's coming up in a couple of minutes. He's going to sit in here for us, go 3 wide with him, just kind of talk to him. He had a pretty good race, P6 finish and all that stuff. I'm wondering from their perspective how these drivers walk away, because they're all familiar with this poll, right? I know the poll is losing some of its validity because Jeff Gluck, who is host of the Teardown and Gluckcast, and so on his social page with this thing, he had also said that there were so many less people voting. For some reason, that poll wasn't showing up on people's For You page this week, mine included. I vote on it every week. I didn't see the poll this week. So normally he gets maybe like 20,000 votes. This week and last week he's only got 3,000 or 4,000. So something is fundamentally wrong with who it's still making a ton of impressions, but not with people who care to actually click on a vote. So it's kind of throwing the thing off a little bit more. But either way, Moon, what did you think? Do you think Bristol should go to one race a year or burn the whole fucking place down and start over? Is Bristol a huge disappointment to you?
To me, it wasn't as bad as the poll makes it seem. I don't think Ty Gibbs really helped. I think if Chase Elliott wins that same race, it probably is at least in the 70s. I think it kind of fell in line with most of the races this year where they weren't bad necessarily, but I would just describe it as forgettable. Like, that's not a Bristol race I'm going to look back on or probably think about even a few weeks from now. And I think the biggest thing, seeing what Bristol once was, even the spring race, not that long ago, really, the spring race, it may not have been a sellout, but it was still packed. I mean, it didn't look empty from high above. The parking lots didn't look empty. And seeing what it's become now, yeah, I'm almost starting to think that they could go to just one date and maybe at least make that one count and mean a little bit more to people buying the tickets, because Bristol's proven they can host other events successfully. They could have had another sporting event or have another sporting event there. They do concerts. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure Morgan Wallen probably sold more tickets when he played there than they had at the race on Sundays. So I don't think one race would hurt it. It would hurt my heart because, once again, what Bristol once was, I never would have thought there'd be a time where I'd want less Bristol, but maybe that's the move now.
Yeah, and that would be a shame, obviously. But I also think there's so many people people can't afford to go to races anymore. And I'm not blaming NASCAR because my wife and daughter just went to Hamilton last night on Broadway. I couldn't afford to send them to that, right? It's very, very, she drove in from New Jersey to the city and paid $70 to park. Then she had an overpriced meal. Then they went in, they had good seats that were way too expensive, and they paid $60 in tolls, probably getting in and out. Everything is expensive. I just wonder if it's just hitting NASCAR more. Like the NASCAR fan demographic perhaps is in that income bracket where, yeah, the price of gas is going to affect whether or not they make it out to the fucking races.
I do think there's something to be said about that. I saw tweets this week complaining about $70 tickets being the cheapest tickets available for Bristol this week. And I saw a quote tweet that was equally as viral or successful or whatever you want to call it. That was people saying, if $70 is a lot to ask of our NASCAR fan, I saw both sides of the argument, I guess. But my point is, I guess I'm just curious, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a ticket sales expert. But if they just did something where it's like, hey, our tickets are going to be $20 and we're going to sell this shit out and have it packed to the gills, part of me thinks that would be a better strategy. And again, I'm not prepared to sit here and speak on the economics of that.
But I think going back to the two race thing, it's I guess there's two options. It's either you can't afford them or you think the price is just ridiculous. And I think both solutions to that is, hey, there's two races, maybe we just go to one, because we're not paying these prices twice because they're crazy. But I don't know. I think when you have two races, that's a middle decision of we can do one of these races, not both.
But having 70,000 people, and again, this is the roundabout thing. I haven't seen the numbers from Bristol, so I'm guessing lower end, 70,000, 60,000 people. I just took 10,000 out just to make myself feel better. Having 60,000 people show up for a race is a success. It's just they're showing up in a fucking arena that's way too big. So I don't know if you want to go to one race or if you just want to take the fucking top off of Bristol. Just rip the whole fucking thing out so it looks, because I don't know if NASCAR gets back to where Bristol was rocking 140,000 seats in the 90s, right? And, young Moonhead, he's 10 years old, but he's still drinking beer, which was just irresponsible of his parents, and he's ripping Marlboro Reds in the fucking infield. That whole thing, to me, I wish we can get back there, but realistically, if we can't, but they're still selling 60 to 70,000 seats for a race. I don't think this is NASCAR's fault necessarily either. I know the short track racing needs to be worked on, and we'll talk about some of the tweaks that they're making for the super speedways starting in Talladega, which might be a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, but still they're doing something. It just seems like it might be a broader sociological reason why they're not selling out.
I don't want to be too critical of Bristol either. It's probably one of my Mount Rushmore tracks in NASCAR, regardless of what we saw this past weekend and whatever poll numbers. I do think like it's easy to be critical of there, but I look back as recently as a couple of years ago, and I remember races that seemed super gimmicky. Again, whether it was they brought in a shit ton of dirt and made it a dirt track, or they added fucking neon underglow to the cars. I'd much rather prefer the Bristol race we saw this past Sunday than either of those two, real hypotheticals that occurred again just a couple of years ago. So I'll take this all day, and I don't mean to be too critical of a place I love.
And we talked about it, but the Masters is so powerful that like there might have just been people that are like, I'd rather stay home and watch them both and be on, like just be on the like. Have you ever seen when it's like it's Super Bowl Sunday and there's just like a random NHL hockey game and just nobody's in the stands because they're like, I'm staying home and watching the Super Bowl today.
Absolutely.
I could see that too, and it's also coming off an off week too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes, which I don't mind, the off week I think is great, and the reason they do it, and people spending time at home with their families on Easter. I know there's an argument either way. Like maybe NASCAR could kind of own Easter and give them off the week after and avoid the Masters. I don't know. But yeah, I think the problem with Bristol, not with the racing, there's plenty of problems with the short track package and all that stuff. And those tires were fucking hockey pucks, But outside of that, I think the problems with Bristol are much more broader than anything that we talk about on this podcast. I had seen, the Friday night race, the truck race, and when Christian Eckes had right rear hooked Corey Haim and denied him that triple bonus, I purposely didn't want to record this week until NASCAR had levied a fine, because at the time, with my uneducated eyes, I was like, I think that kid's going to get fucking hit with that, Christian Eckes. And it seems like it's been just deemed sort of a racing incident, so it looks like he's going to walk away. Christian Eckes afterwards got out of the car and said he felt terrible and said all the right things, but, Corey Haim had a shot at $500,000 right there.
Yeah.
And Corey Haim, by the way, who the fuck is this kid? He got up there. He was talking like a wise old man with it. He continues to impress. It seemed like I felt more angry towards Eckes than Corey Haim did. Did you guys happen to see that? Do you think it was a racing incident? How do you feel Corey did with it? And because he did get fucked.
Yeah, I only kind of saw the aftermath, and I'm kind of it's a testament to, honestly, like you said, Large, both Corey and Christian. I think Christian is a guy that kind of recognized what he did, and then, understandably, felt bad and kind of tried to make it good with Corey Haim. But Corey Haim, a guy that we've talked about as recently as last week, not traditional Truck Series championship kind of season. So to me, I'm kind of almost of the opinion that a young kid, this is no different than like Large when we just competed in a mini golf tournament, or when there's one of these cash prize opportunities at Barstool Sports where, I go balls to the wall, whatever the challenge is, to try to pocket a little bit of extra income. So to me, that's kind of the vibe I get from Corey Haim, a guy not competing for the championship in this series, instead trying to line his pockets with alternative incentives like this basically truck challenge. And unfortunately, it was taken from him, from Christian Eckes. I do feel equally as bad for Christian Eckes. This is a kid as recently as like 2-3 years ago, we were talking about being heavily involved in these silly season narratives and rumors and hypotheticals. And now it seems like he's kind of floundered and gone the other way. And I kind of hate that for Christian Eckes, a kid with a lot of potential that's seemingly now kind of almost, and I hate to say it, forgotten about or an afterthought, and now in the news for, unflattering storylines. So, yeah, I like both Christian and Corey. I like to see that they worked it out. Tough storyline. I was pulling for Corey to keep winning here. So, I don't know.
But as far as we know, there have been no kind of disciplinary actions from NASCAR. And I guess looking back on it,
You almost can't.
Yeah.
you can't.
Because
Okay,
everybody be like, that money should go
Right.
directly to Heim, which they can't get in the business of like
right.
paying fines to other drivers.
Right.
But I
Was
almost
it
feel
close?
like you can't.
Was it close to being something? Because right rear hooks are right rear hooks. Was it close to being something that maybe should have been looked at closely, or was I just overreacting because I'm a Heim simp?
Kind of. I mean, I think it's just one of those ones where it's like guys making aggressive moves, and that can come across as like they weren't really trying to wreck, but their like safety net was down, and they were just like they're just making decisions that are a little bit more aggressive and will cause wrecks and are just being a little like careless with it and aggressive towards the end of the race. That I don't know. It's not intentional, but like they were driving with a little extra oomph at that point in the race.
Either way, their loss was Christopher Bell's gain. And the trucks that wasn't a great race to watch. You know, I thought they opened up multiple lanes, multiple grooves in the Cup Series, but it seems like the trucks, they just had to ride the bottom the whole time. That wasn't the best race to watch, in my perspective. Clean or dirty, Moon?
I mean, it wasn't clean by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Corey Heim laid it out really good in his interview, you know, kind of admitting or at least understanding why Eckes might have been a little upset with him. And I don't think Eckes was doing that on purpose. I think he was trying to get in line behind him as quick as he could so he could ship him up the track.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he meant to right rear him.
Okay.
Well, Moonhead, was I too critical of Christian Eckes? Where do you see him in the prospect kind of hierarchy?
No, I agree with you. I think that there was a time where he was probably viewed a little bit more favorably, but I mean, I think kind of history speaks for itself. He's torn up a lot of shit over the last few years, and I mean, even Heim, it seems like there's some history there, you know, based off others' remarks too. Caden Honeycutt, he honestly, I think, was the maddest out of the whole saga, it seemed like, from his interview, and he just got involved in it. So I definitely think Eckes has kind of got a reputation, but I also think he's got a lot of talent, so it's tough. I don't think it's game over for him by any means, but he's got to clean it up, I think.
You talk about the kid having a lot of talent. We say the word kid a lot, especially me because I'm so old. It was if people didn't have this other kid on their radar, they before this weekend, they do now in Brent Cruz. And I thought the O'Reilly race was a little bit better, particularly when you saw some of the moves that Connor Zilic had made towards the end to beat Kyle Larson. Otherwise, it was just the Kyle Larson show. And then it was cool to see Rodney Childers get a win.
Yeah,
I thought so. You know, O'Reilly had brought a couple more storylines. Got to see like a young superstar in Brent Cruz. Connor Zilic then in the interview saying, "I'm having a rough fucking one up in Cup Series. This is awesome. You know, it's awesome to sort of still be able to." I think somebody had said, "Why would they give that kid a sword? You know, he cuts himself, you know, on the edge of town. Why the fuck would somebody give the sword to, you know, the fall guy?" But so we're happy for Zilic, and it does show a little bit of realism about how he is a little bit frustrated with how he's done so far in the Cup Series, which is growing pains, right? This kid could peel off a road course win at any moment and be not in the situation that Ty Gibbs was for 131 races.
right.
So,
I mean, I'm glad you
glad he had
mentioned
that.
Ty Gibbs. I'm glad you mentioned Ty Gibbs, Large, because he's a guy. I don't know what's changed with him from last season to this season, but he seems like a completely different driver. And following his win this week, I think it's a testament to the fact that, like you said, Large, these development and the adjustment from O'Reilly or Xfinity to Cup Series takes an extended period of time. And I think Ty Gibbs, a guy who we've seen be dominant this season, even prior to his win this weekend, is a testament to the fact that those things take time. So even with Connor Zilic, or even like we were just talking about with Christian Eckes, I think it's important to see these kids through and give them enough time to ultimately have a clear picture on the true driver they are.
Is 131 the new 100? It took Ty Gibbs 131 races to get his first win.
Yeah.
And before that, people were sort of using that measuring stick of, call it like 60 or 70 to 100 races just based on some of the other active drivers in the Cup Series. So you kind of throw out SVG, who got a win in his first Cup Series start.
Yeah.
Fucking bastard. Cindric got one in his 8th start. Justin Haley got one in his 3rd start. But is it now, are we moving the goalposts because of Ty Gibbs and because of the parity that we're seeing in NASCAR and possibly the domination that we're seeing out of a couple of drivers? Is it still going to be, hey, Connor Zilic, you don't have to do this in your first 100. Jesse Love, when you come up to the Cup Series, you don't have to do this. Corey Heim, Brent Cruz, anybody who they wind up bringing up. Is that measuring stick starting to get bigger, or is Ty Gibbs just behind the curve on getting his first win?
I'm going to straddle the horse here, and I'm going to give you context as to why. I do think the goalpost should move, and we should give a little bit more of a grace period, whether it be, 100-plus races, 130 is the number you suggested, Large. And I think that's fair, and I only think that's fair because, in the next-gen era or the post-COVID era, whatever you want to call it, there's been more and more discussion about how few and limited the practice opportunities are. So for that reason alone, I'm willing to give these guys a little bit more grace. The other thing is I want to call out Ty Gibbs for a good reason. If you look at this great graphic by Daniel Cespedes on Twitter, who does a great job with NASCAR analytics and data, there's a couple drivers that he has listed here. Their top 5s before their first Cup Series win. Chase Elliott had 27 top 5s before ultimately winning his Cup Series first win. Do you know who's second?
Who's that?
Ty Gibbs, probably.
Ty Gibbs with 21 top 5s before his first Cup Series win. Then it's Kyle Larson. So my point is Ty Gibbs is in very, very good company. He's obviously in good equipment, and there was still a tremendous learning curve. So I think absolutely I'm giving these guys more. And to answer your question, Large, yes, I do think the goalposts have moved, but I think for fair reason. And the reason being that there's limited practice opportunity and reps for these guys to wheel and get seat time in this next gen car. So that's ultimately my straddle the horse answer.
All right, I like it. Quiggs, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think so. I think it's more like you obviously need a win in this sport, but even if Gibbs didn't win here, like what you've seen this season is Ty Gibbs is for real and
here to stay,
belongs, is going to get a win eventually. And like, that's almost more important than whether he was like a little bit behind schedule. And
okay, that's a good point.
Cindric got his win on the 8th race, but like, I don't know who, if you had to take one guy for your team, who are you taking?
Michael McDowell 358 starts before he got his first win.
Yeah. And that is maybe like a number where it's like, I don't know if Ty Gibbs was at 280 races with no win, you might start to be like, this guy just can't win a race. Like, but I don't know, being 31 wins behind an imaginary number, I don't think makes a difference. And I don't think there's actual goal posts being moved. But I think for the most part, it's watching these guys every week and getting a feel for like, all right, this guy has it or this guy doesn't.
All right, and I think it's a good point. I'm going to ask it a different way to you, Moonhead, then, slightly different. And listen, he didn't back into that win by any stretch. I mean, he did what he needed to do against two of the best drivers in the world, Kyle Larson and a guy who was in a rocket and moving through traffic pretty great, Ryan Blaney, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. If going into this race you thought that Ty Gibbs's resume was 50% Nepo baby and 50% good driver, after this win, Moonhead, did it turn 75-25 to you, or was it not anything that really moved the needle?
I think this whole season has moved it in Ty's favor, and then this just solidified, I think, everybody's feelings. It's a new Ty Gibbs. I mean, if I didn't know Ty's past history and like some of the antics we've seen earlier in his career, I would have probably become a Ty Gibbs fan watching that race on Sunday, just between, obviously the storylines with his family, knowing what he's overcome, the lawsuit, everything, and just how he conducted himself in the interviews. Like he seemed likable. So I think he's figuring it out on all fronts. And also I think that really. I mean, he didn't take too long to get the win. I don't think that going 100 races or so without winning, is bad when you're constantly progressing and having good runs. Obviously, you talked about some of the guys who got them done early. Haley got it done because of a lightning delay.
Yeah.
Austin Cindric won a chaotic Daytona 500. Not discrediting any of these. A win's a win. And then SVG coming in, that really didn't shock anybody either, because that was not really an even playing field. I guess he had the most experience out of anybody. So I think Ty Gibbs I don't think he's done winning this year, and I think this is probably going to start the avalanche of wins.
Here we go. That's recency bias or not, Spider? How many wins does Ty Gibbs get? Before we came in last season, we had it at 1.5 for Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
Nobody hit it. Everyone thought that he might be winning more than one race, or even at a half.
Yep.
Everyone thought at least one race, and we were all fucking dead wrong. And then this one, he pulls off a win, and we're moving the fucking goalposts. Does Ty Gibbs get 3 wins this year? He's running he's got 6 top 10, 6 top 6s in a row, right?
Yeah.
Since a horrific start to the first 2 races of the season. Are we jumping on the Ty train even more, or is it just recency bias? If you want my personal opinion before I throw that out to you,
Yeah.
Ty Gibbs' mom is a handsome woman, with all due respect.
Handsome woman is crazy.
She came out. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know. So respectfully, seeing more of her on the track is awesome for me. Finally seeing some older, beautiful people represented, who I think I'm one of those comps too as well. Seeing him do that thing with his grandpa and come over with Amy, and see Coach grabbed the mic from Amy.
That was a power move, by the way. I'm glad you mentioned that.
By the way, she's a fucking pro.
Yeah.
She went to grab it a couple of times, right? I think she commented first rule in whatever is never give up the mic, which we know. And but she was like, I'm also dealing with Coach Gibbs. So she reluctantly let him do his thing. I thought she handled it perfectly.
Yeah.
And then Ty came over and is like, woohoo, grandpa, like the whole deal. I could get used to that. I love it. But are we kind of, like, to Moonhead's point, in a vacuum? And if you didn't know what Ty did in Martinsville back in 2000, in a vacuum, are we getting a little bit too fucking ahead of ourselves?
No. Jamie Little, first of all. I said it a couple weeks ago with her willingness to get the most out of Michael Jordan. She seemingly did the same thing with Joe Gibbs. I think she does a great job. She often and frequently gets dunked on for her play-by-play skills, which I'm not going to compliment myself. But if there are compliments to give, she does a tremendous job pit reporting.
But your lack of compliments speaks volumes.
A kind of backhanded compliment. But Jamie does a great job in the pits, whether it be Joe Gibbs, Michael Jordan. I stand by that. Yeah. And again, it's easy to say Ty Gibbs, Nepo baby, whatever. I'm going the other way. I thought it was a beautiful moment seeing him and his mom celebrate. Joe Gibbs speak to the significance of that win. I mean, call him a Nepo baby all you want. Ty Gibbs has faced more adversity in in his life than I have, and 90% of the people listening to this show. I think Joe Gibbs, unfortunately, the old thing is like the old homage is a parent should never have to bury their child. Joe Gibbs has done that twice, and to me, Ty Gibbs is the kind of blossoming flower in their life that is celebrating all of their legacies collectively. So to see Joe Gibbs speak to the significance of that is a beautiful moment. And to answer your question, Large, I think the monkey's off Ty Gibbs' back. He's in great equipment. He's been in great equipment. And I'm not trying to trash him. The reason I quoted that Daniel Cespedes stat is because his 21 top 5 finishes prior to his first Cup Series win is a testament to the fact that he's been doing it before he had a win to show for it. He hasn't been running like shit. And I know he's ran 6 top 6s in a row, but that's only a testament to my opinion, this newfound confidence he's had. And I only think that's going to get doubled down on following this win. I think the Ty Gibbs finishes this season with 3 wins at least. And I think if I'm a sports book, shout out DraftKings, my line would be for this number would be 3.5. I like him to have a Chase Briscoe style 2025 season is what I expect from Ty Gibbs the rest
Chris
of 2026.
Buescher type thing, yeah. 2.5 is the over-under for me right now. 2.5 is the over-under. You're decidedly with the over Spider.
Yep.
Quiggs, 2.5 over-under for wins for Ty Gibbs this year.
I think he gets 2.
Okay, so you're under?
Yeah, but I could see I think he could finish top 5 in points
100%. I mean,
by the end of the
if
season.
he's consistently rolling off top tens like this kid's going to be a problem in the playoffs. Over under 2.5. Moon.
I'm definitely going the over.
So take it over. All right, it's cool. So I'm going to stay with him. I can see another win out of Ty this season, and I think 2 wins and a solid playoff run going into the chase would be outperforming expectations after the season he had last year. So all the way around, I just can't help but thinking when Larson won and I had to lift his mom up over the wall, and then Ty won and his mom jumped into the fucking front seat like she was Daisy Duke. I really liked that. I was like calling in Bridge and my wife and stuff like that. I was like, you got to see this. It was I thought it was really fucking cool.
Yeah, NASCAR has a way of being very, very romantic, whether it's, Dale Jr. winning at the second Daytona 2001, Harrison Burton winning when his dad's calling the fucking race, or Ty Gibbs just celebrating with his family this weekend. But my point is that should be the storyline from this week. That's my takeaway. What a beautiful, awesome moment for Ty Gibbs. And I think sky's the limit moving forward.
You think Kyle Busch knew? You think Kyle knew? When he fucking sent Riley that the guy who jumped in his seat was about to get his first win and be like, let him earn it on a restart against Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson?
Part of me thinks he had to have known. Ty Gibbs was up front and contending in this race for a long enough period of time where Kyle Busch had to be wise to what was going on. I'm not going to sit here and say that, he wrecked Riley Herbst with the intentions of bringing out a yellow to potentially rob Ty Gibbs of his first win. I'm not going to say that. I do think absolutely there was intent. And I don't know if you guys heard the RCR radio, but there was a clip circulating on Twitter with, I don't even know who exactly it was, but his teammates essentially fighting on the radio and trying to get the train back on the rails during the race, which is a testament to kind of the state of RCR right now, and my level of concern remains high with them.
Denny said some really nice things and some really bad things about Kyle on Actions Detrimental. Like he kept mentioning the switch that goes off and how difficult it is to put that switch back on, and to see Kyle just all of a sudden reel off a couple of wins in a row and get back to his old championship form. But obviously the frustration is there. I don't know if because let's talk about it hypothetically. If Kyle Busch did that and then Ty Gibbs finishes third because he flubs the restart or whatever, then the storyline is much different. Yeah. The storyline is much fucking different. And we have maybe an angry Ty Gibbs on Rubbin His Racing today telling Kyle Busch go fuck himself. Yeah. And Kyle Busch saying, I don't give a fuck about anything. So I don't know. Just kind of something to think as we're trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Kyle Busch. We're going to come up with Todd Gilliland in just a couple of seconds. But Ryan Blaney, can someone explain to me why Penske doesn't go scorched earth and just get the best? Why aren't they fixing this? Why aren't they because they still consider this guy? I know Tyler Reddick and him are considered now the best drivers in Cup Series right now. Yeah. But Ryan is doing it with one hand tied behind his back. Why aren't they untying that fucking hand? Am I missing something? Is it that tough to go out and just take everyone from Austin Cindric and put it on fucking Ryan Blaney? Take everyone from Joey Logano and put it. I don't give a fuck. Give him the best guys. He's the best person inside of Ford. Like Ford should be petitioning to change this around. Everyone's throwing around that stat that he's lost 80 spots. NASCAR Chasm had put up, what's the difference between this dog and this dog? And it was a Dalmatian and a dog with no spots. That dog visited the 12 pit. Like the whole thing is becoming a joke now. Why would any businessman not make that better? Can anyone explain that to me?
I almost think, this is a storyline we talk about every year. Didn't we do this song and dance with Denny? Was it Tyler Reddick or was it Denny last year?
Denny, remember Denny's guys?
Denny's
Then all of a
pit crew
sudden they
sucked.
turned it around. The one guy started to do that behind the back
Yeah,
with
Joel,
the jack
shout
thing.
out Joel B from Denny's 11 team. Great guy. But no, part of me feels like, the answer is just too obvious. It's like, why doesn't Penske, why aren't there more Fords in the O'Reilly's series? Sometimes there's just, the answer just doesn't make sense. I also think that from where I sit, there's something to be said about sticking with the guys you got. And, if Blaney can pull off these results and get a win and still be competitive here at Bristol, despite all these hiccups on pit road, what's he going to be capable of when this team is fully loaded and in mid-season form and in their prime? And we've talked about every year about how Ford has a slow start to the season, how they've been winless. Blaney's already won. And they're still, and again, my point is, yeah, I agree. I'm not saying that these are not worthy storylines or this is not a real concern for Ryan Blaney. My point is, just give it time. And that might be where Penske's at right now,
but we're in a fucking chase thing now. It's not win and you're in. We're looking for consistency over 20 some odd races to go into it. And so if you're going to say, hey, we're going to get into our midseason form and then really make a push for those last 14 races, it could be too late. Like Chase Briscoe is digging himself out of a hole. Alex Bowman, for reasons beyond his control, is digging himself out of a hole.
Right.
I beg somebody to get involved and just create the superstar that this fucking guy is. Listen, I'm gonna come back to this in a couple of seconds because we do have Todd Gilliland coming up. So we're about to go 3 wide with Todd Gilliland, and it's brought to you by Cuervo. From the first lap till the checkered flag, there's only one choice. Winning on race day is all about momentum, and nothing matches the energy, excitement, and adrenaline quite like Cuervo. Whether you're at home, in the infield, or taking over the tailgate, Cuervo is the winning move that elevates any race into an occasion you'll remember. So no matter who's in victory lane, you can win every race. From the first lap to the checkered flag, keep it Cuervo. And with that, why don't we go and have a little bit of sanity in our lives and talk a little bit with Todd Gilliland. All right, so as promised, Todd Gilliland, outside of his mom's house, helping her move in today, which I think is off to a good start. It means that he's a good person, and he's also a pretty fucking good driver. He drives the number 34 Ford for Front Row Motorsports. P6 finish at Bristol this weekend was impressive to see, particularly with the 2 tires that he took at the end, and he worked the field. Todd's one of our favorite guys. Every time we see him, he's always great to us at the track. He also drives one of my favorite car schemes when he does the Grillo's Pickles thing. I love that shit, to be quite honest with you. Todd, how you doing, buddy? How are you feeling in the wake of Bristol and going into Kansas?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. And it's great to talk to you guys again. It's been a while, but it just feels, great to get a top 10 run on the board for us. We haven't had one yet this year. And honestly, we haven't been running good at all. We just haven't had much speed. So I honestly think, get that first one, kind of under our belts and running more competitively. I think should take us, a while with this momentum. And and honestly, even apart from the mental side of it, right? The momentum side, we're going out later for qualifying in Kansas, and all this stuff can really snowball in a really good way. So proud of our guys for coming off the off weekend, ready to go, and it was a solid finish for us.
Speaking of off week, we had Ryan Preece on during the off week, and I want to ask you the same question I asked him. I know after the race is done, we have the Gluck poll, which ranks if it was or was not a good race. I'm more so curious, if I had a spider poll and I pulled the drivers on off week, do you want to race or do you want the off week? What % of the field do you think is going to say, let's race? And where does Todd Gilliland stand in all of this?
Man, I don't know. I think, honestly, it felt pretty early for an off week. I know last year this was kind of our only one. So that was different because you're like, man, I better take this in. As you know, we have like whatever 20 something more races after that, where, this year it's kind of nice because you get the season started, you get this off week, and, we know we have another one coming up, in the middle of summer. So I'm looking forward to that. I definitely think, even for the drivers, you might be more split, but, I always try and think about, the team members, the truck drivers, right? All the other that make the sport go around. I think it's more so for them even, right? I think the drivers could go race every single weekend and be happy, but there's a lot more people that go into the sport, and I think they deserve the break too. So I think it's good, and I think it was much needed already.
Staying along with what Spider is talking about, I had mentioned at the top of the show, you've been with us since we first started this, Todd. We spoke to you a couple of years back when we were first starting Rubbin is Racing, but we're still relatively new to racing. Now that we're, 5 years in, Spider, I'm starting to disagree with the Gluck poll results almost every week, particularly this week where I saw it was like in the mid-60s. One of your contemporaries, Chase Briscoe, makes a prediction every week with Jeff and Jordan, and Chase Briscoe is fucking terrible at making these picks. He's absolutely terrible at the fucking thing. So when you see that Bristol had gotten a 65 from a fan's perspective, and whether or not that perspective is right or not, from a driver's perspective, what do you give that race coming out of Bristol on that same scale of 1 to 100 for a Bristol's race from a driver's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, right? I think I had a great time. I was able to pass more cars than I've ever passed at Bristol. And the tires, it wasn't one of those crazy races where you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So I felt, like it was a fairly competitive race. I thought the bottom lane held on longer than usual. The top came in at a certain point, as you would kind of expect. So I thought from, a racing pureness standpoint, without the tires wearing out to the extreme, it was a good race. I would have said, 80% in a good way. So I don't know. It's hard to pass. Bristol's very tough. I qualified 35th, and the leaders they lapped me probably 30 laps at the beginning of the race. So that's what makes it, I guess, exciting to watch. But it's just part of it, right? The field gets spread out, and it's we can get some long green flag runs there, which I think sometimes don't go well, right, with the exciting fan vote. But for us, right, it's one of those places that's so challenging. A lot of times you're so locked in on what your car is doing that sometimes maybe you don't get those mistakes that actually cause caution. But I thought overall this race was good.
So obviously this week, everyone's talking about Ty Gibbs getting his first win, and I think it's important we shine some light on your top 10 as well with the 6th place finish. Looking at your previous season stats, you've had other top 10s as well 2 years in a row, including at tracks in Indiana at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but also at Talladega and Martinsville last year finished in the top 10. If there's a track this year looking forward where you think you're a good opportunity to potentially get your first win as Ty Gibbs did this past weekend, or at least be competitive, potentially knock on the door with another top 10, what are some of those opportunities for Todd Gilliland?
Yeah, I think all those tracks you mentioned, I was pretty disappointed with how we ran at Martinsville, to be honest. I feel like that's a place that, I have a good feel for, very confident at, and we kind of just ran in the mid-20s all day. But I think that's a place where, in my mind, we can go there, and if we hit everything right, we can run in the top 5 all day. And that's, where you need to be running to eventually knock on the door and get that first win. I think Talladega is definitely a place that we can go win, but at the same time, right, there's a lot of stuff out of your control there. Also I feel super confident going there with a 2nd place finish from last year. So I think there's a lot of good racetracks for us. I think Kansas, we are just outside the top 10 in both races. I think it'll be a big test for us. 1.5 miles have not been our strongest suit, but probably where we need the most work. So I'm just excited to see kind of where our progress is at this weekend. But then, going into Talladega with big week with Loves on board. So I think Talladega is 2 weeks away, and no better place for my first win.
So on the flip side of that, Todd, if there's a track you're not looking forward to, is there anything coming up where you're like, fuck, we got to go to, wherever, we got to go to Joliet or whatever it might be? Dover. Is there a place you struck? Dover?
It's definitely Dover, and I couldn't be happier. It's just the All-Star race this year. So it's perfect place for it. I feel like I'm already ahead of the game because I usually finish like last there every single year. So now it's not a points race. I'm losing less compared to the field, I feel like. So I'm very excited with that move, and it's coming up, and it's on my weekend, which is tough. But well, I'm gonna figure that place out eventually, and I still have a good attitude. When it comes time to finally go there, I try and put my mental state in the right place and try and figure it out. But it just hasn't happened yet.
I don't think I've ever seen you with a bad attitude, Todd. I'm serious. Like, is there anything?
The gates of Dover, but
Yeah, yeah.
We saw this weekend a record-breaking number of Cup Series drivers driving in the lower series, particularly in the Truck Series. I know it's not something where you just can say every weekend, you know what, Dover, I need a couple more reps. Can I just run trucks? Can I just run O'Reilly? But how do you feel about the Cup guys riding in a lot of the lower series? What are your plans, if any, to do such a thing? It seems like the lower series guys, O'Reilly and Craftsman Truck Series drivers, like it. They like racing against the best. Sometimes I don't think it's overly fair to those dudes when you guys come in there and start fucking pushing them around a little bit. So how do you feel about racing in the lower series, and what's your plans to do it if there are any?
Yeah, 7, I think, Cup guys, right, in the truck field at Bristol.
Crazy.
Obviously, for me, I made the jump from straight from trucks to the Cup Series. So obviously, there's a big gap there, but I would love to. So my plan, I guess, is to convince my owner and GM that we need to start a 3rd truck team for the Cup guys to kind of alternate through. We've been working on it, but we're don't think we're gaining much traction. But we'll see. We're gonna stay at it. So. Especially with how good the front row trucks are right now, those guys look like they're having a lot of fun. So, but yeah, it's always fun just to go down and like you mentioned, you kind of do see the Cup guys push them around a little bit, even if it's not what they're trying to do, right? If you just have less risk on your shoulders, and obviously you don't really necessarily care, you're there to win pretty much only, right? So yeah, if you get some damage or whatever for putting yourself in a bad spot, then you can just move on. Where the truck guys, it seems like if you put them in a bad spot, they're usually the ones that are going to lift and get out of the bad situation, which honestly teaches, things along the way. But it is funny to see kind of, how even if it's not in the front of your mind, it just happens where you end up putting these guys in some tough spots.
All right, so that's Todd Gilliland. Listen, we had some technical difficulties because he's on Cricket Mobile, but we're going to, it's a testament to our team here, our production team, that, particularly Owen and to a degree Quiggs, because he always has something, that we got anything out of him. But we promise we'll have Todd again inside of a studio setting as soon as possible so we can go balls deep in Todd Gilliland. And I just said that out loud. Before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about Shady Rays. Spider, they've been a fucking friend of yours for a long time, and I'm glad that we have them on board. Shady Rays. All right, guys, quick question. How are my Shady Rays basically the same quality as the $200 sunglasses I used to buy? And I'm not exaggerating. They feel every bit as premium as the expensive brands I've owned in the past. Meanwhile, I'm wearing Shady Rays to the beach, on a boat, to the game, here at work, everywhere, because if I drop them in the ocean, they replace them. If I knock them off of a dock, they replace them. If I sit on them in my car, they replace them. And here's the crazy part. They're actually premium. Polarized lenses that cut glare hard, super clear optics, durable frames with solid hinges, clean classic styles that look sharp without trying too hard. If you're outside, on the water, in the sun, driving every day, you need shades that actually perform. So go to shadyrays.com. Grab a pair and get sunglasses with lost and broken protection. You can see Spider has them up right now.
These are the Raja Karuts I'm holding here. You see his little signature there with the Washington, D.C. skyline on there. Nice personalization.
That's hot.
And then I'm also wearing the Kyle Busch Talons, I believe. These are the Talon Shady Ray models, the Kyle Busch collab. So I've got the Rajas, I've got the Kyles. They're honestly perfect for the racetrack.
I love it. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code Rubbin, RUBBIN, for 40% off 2 or more polarized sunglasses. 40% off 2 or more polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. So shadyrays.com, use code Rubbin, 40% off 2 more polarized sunglasses. Again, thank you to Todd Gilliland for coming in and spending some time with us. Wi-Fi is what it is, but I feel like we got through it. Alex Bowman still has a chance to get into the playoffs. True or false?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little.
I loved seeing him back. He
Yeah.
had some bad luck, so he didn't have a great first race back, right? Like, so we know that, but we know what the kid can do. I don't know if it's too late in this format, right?
I think it's okay for us all to unanimously say no.
No.
He's not
Okay.
making it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I'm super encouraged by I think he will turn some heads this season. I think we heard Dylan Mamba Smith come on here a couple weeks ago and say he fully expects Bowman to be in the 48 next year. Otherwise, they would have had a better contingency plan, or whoever it's going to be would be in that car now. So I'm inclined to believe what Mamba said a couple weeks ago. And I'm also super encouraged to see Bowman back at Bristol, from which I understand is one of the most physically strenuous tracks. So if he's healthy enough to compete and, debut himself back there, I'm super encouraged. And we're rooting for him. I hate to see what happened to him. And he will be on my card here probably at Kansas, not to tip my picks.
You just tipped your hand. I'm going to go in if I can do my own. Yeah, but like you said, it's great to see him back. But right away, Quiggs just absolutely shits on everyone's parade.
Well,
Isn't
I
he?
mean,
I'm
He's
glad
like
you said
Eeyore
you
from
mentioned
people who
that,
watch
Mars.
Winnie the Pooh. He's
Usually
Eeyore.
it's me, so I'm glad it was quick today.
Way behind. He's going to need consistent top 10 finishes. Vertigo is a bitch, and he'll have flare-ups. He'll have races where maybe he shouldn't race, but he's kind of feeling okay. Like, I don't think that's going to be the end of his like vertigo symptoms, and I don't know. I wish him the best, but I think he's got a lot of things to overcome, and
Terrible bedside
not
manner.
a lot of time to do it.
Holy shit! You should never become a doctor. My God, that's dire. It's fucking dire.
Vertigo's dire.
I'm sorry, Quiggs. I just like to shit on you. That was kind of Eric Jonesy. You think he has any shot to make the playoffs, Moonhead, or are you saying no?
Yeah, not a chance in hell.
Not a chance. All right. And again,
How am I the one that's been least critical of him?
I don't know. But it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to just mention Cletus because we have to mention him every week. He will not be racing in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series at Talladega next weekend after NASCAR refused to approve him for the event. This is his quote. I got a lot to learn, guys. So this isn't as much as a step back or a push down as it seems. It's a little bit of a kick in the nuts, but I just got to get out there in other cars and do as much learning as possible. Then hopefully I'll get to run Daytona and Talladega next year. Spider, so you had a little bit of contact with Cletus when you had that one-on-one interview with him, and we had seen how the numbers for us had gone up. We had gotten a Cletus bump for it, which is like tar heroin. Shoot that in my veins. Let's get this guy on every week, that type of thing. So how do you feel about Cletus right now and his relationship with NASCAR?
I'm pumped. I'm a little bit skeptical. I've read a lot of the feedback that came out of last week's episode, and I love that. But I also think it's simultaneously a little bit concerning, or a testament to the star power that exists in the modern day of NASCAR. And I know, it's one thing to look at YouTube numbers on our end, which I'm not going to do because our show obviously exists on audio as well. But across the board, it was been up with the Cletus interview. So I loved having Cletus on. Again, he was super busy. That was ahead of his debut. He still gave us time as much as he possibly could have. And I'm super intrigued to see what the future of NASCAR looks like for him. Now, since that interview came out, he was not approved to run at Talladega. So there was some updates there. And I think a lot of people thought we were kind of clickbaiting or trying to ride off that. But the reality of it was the interview was under embargo until the following week. So that's just happened to be timing. Now, I did see people saying following this announcement of NASCAR not allowing him to race at Talladega was that, people felt that NASCAR was just essentially using him, stringing him along so he would continue to do training and practice videos, which were obviously being eaten up by millions of people and Cletus's massive audience. So I did want to get your guys' opinion on that and see if you think that, again, we do this conversation every week where should Cletus drive or not. But my question is, in short terms, do you think there's anything to this theory that, NASCAR might be stringing him along to simultaneously boost their own ratings?
I think it's true. And I think that's what happens. Even though Cletus is huge, NASCAR is bigger. So
Right.
he is getting used up by NASCAR to a certain degree, and that's the way that life is, right? They'll ride a hot topic like that, give him a couple of opportunities that perhaps, depending on who you ask, he deserved or didn't deserve. And I don't think they're just going to leave him out in the wind, but
Yeah.
they'll give him a dose of reality now that they have the headlines behind them. And now it's what's next for Cletus, which
Yeah.
has people tuning in.
Captivated.
Yeah, and that's the way that it goes. Like
Yeah.
NASCAR's the bigger person, the bigger entity here, no matter how viral this guy is. And again, we all like him and stuff like that, and he was great to have on the show. I'd like to use him up more. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just what we do.
Yeah.
Whether it's
No,
internet
I mean-
personalities or prostitutes. You use
When-
them up and then boom, send them home.
When you
Not
put it
even
like that, Large, like I admitted on the show to him that I had been invited to the Freedom Factory and it was on my bucket list to make it down there. So you're right. So I'm guilty of that a little bit myself. And, I think you're honestly onto something, because even in a different scenario, whether it be like, a fight that happens post race after a wreck, NASCAR will be the first to penalize those drivers, but then simultaneously turn around and cut a promo out of that clip. So it feels a little bit like that, and it's not really unprecedented to your point, Large.
Yeah.
And I will be rooting for Cletus. I think I want to make sure I'm not mincing words. That was abundantly clear in our Cletus interview, and I want to make that abundantly clear here today. He has a fan in me indefinitely.
And I want to use him up on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he's welcome back anytime.
Yeah, he's the fourth chair as far as I'm concerned. Who's the next to get their first win? What was the graphic that you showed me, Spider? Give me the field on who we have to choose from to get their first win, and everybody here will take one person who they think was going to be the next one to get their first win.
Let me find it here. So we will pull it. We'll start with it was Todd Gilliland. Todd Gilliland is a guy without a win. Obviously, we just had him on the show. Hopefully that interview is salvageable. But outside of him, Carson Hocevar, Ryan Preece, Connor Zilish, Noah Gregson, Todd Gilliland again, John Hunter, Zane Smith, Riley Herbst, Ty Dillon, Cody Ware. Out of that field, I want to get your guys' feedback on who you think wins next. I'm going to go with my pick first.
Go.
And I think it's pretty chalky, but it's going to be the 77 of Carson Hocevar. What we saw from Ty Gibbs prior to this week was him knocking on the door for 5 straight weeks. And I feel like we have that same energy with Carson Hocevar, who's been in contention up front, super fast, knocking on the door at a wide array of tracks. For that reason, he would be my pick to win next. If it can't be him, it would be Ryan Preece or Connor Zilish. But I want to defer to you guys without taking all the picks.
You're taking Hocevar.
Yep.
As the next first win here, and the rest of the field is now Preece, Zilly. We can't do picks. That Carson Hocevar is now off the board. So we got Preece, Zilish, Gregson, Todd, John Hunter, Zane Smith, Riley Herbst, Ty Dillon, and Cody Ware. Quiggs, I'll take you next. Who do you think is the next person to get their first win?
I mean, I've said all year Hocevar he's just gonna win one of these weeks. Like it could be any week. The way he drives, he can do it. But he's gone. But I think even if he was still on the board, I would take Zilish over him, just because it feels like at every short track or road course we go to, he's going to be in the top 3 guys that could win there.
Yeah.
And it's hard to beat SVG, and SVG will probably always be number 1. But I don't know if there's any tracks we're going to where Carson Hocevar pre-race is this guy is in the top 3 guys that could win this race. And I think Zilish will just steal a road course at some point in the season. Just SVG has issues or something,
Sensible.
and I think he'll win it on a road course.
Season?
Yeah, I think between Zilish and Hocevar, there will be a win this season. I think
Fair.
one of those guys will get it, and I think Zilish will just have more of a win you can sort of predict and see coming than
All right,
Hocevar's could be like this, like he could win at Kansas.
Let me ask you then, Quiggs, who would be third? if you have Zilich and Hocevar, P1A and 1B, who are you put?
Well, let me get Moonhead too.
let's
Like, I don't want to
everyone's
rob
pick.
somebody else's answer
Yeah,
right
true,
away. But
sorry.
Moon, you now have Zilly and Hocevar, off the list. Who do you think is the first win?
Well, I guess would Priest. He
Priest
hasn't
still
won a
counts
points
because
race.
he just
yeah.
won the Clash, right?
Yeah. I would take Priest then.
Right. I think I'd like to ride hot hands, and Gilliland saying that he has some follow through with getting a top 10, all the little things that we don't get to see as far as how they're kind of pushed up in line during, qualifying and practice and all that stuff. I think if I'm riding momentum, a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have said Zane Smith because I like the way that Zane Smith started the season, but I think I'm probably going to go with Todd. I think I'll take Gilliland, and the fact that he had said that, and I'm hoping that part gets salvaged. He almost said, like, watch out for me at Talladega.
He did.
So anyone could back into a win at a super speedway, but I think I'm gonna put a respectable bet on him once we get around to Talladega. Remind me, Spider, because I'm old, but I'm gonna take Gilliland off the board.
Yeah.
So out of the four of us, Carson Hocevar, Ryan Priest, Connor Zilich, and Todd Gilliland are off the board as far as being first-time winners. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but did you not even consider Cody Ware or Ty Dillon or Riley? Like, how far far away are those guys?
I kind of looked at it like my first three in and my first like how in March Madness brackets there's teams that are like ranked. There are guys that just weren't even considered, unfortunately, and it would probably be the bottom three on this graphic for Motorsport on Twitter. And that's Ty Dillon, Cody Ware, and it kills me to say, but Riley Herbst. I do think Riley could steal one at Talladega. I mean, he's a super speedway ringer as far as I'm concerned. Unreal save at the Daytona 500 last year, I want to say it was. And I'm not going to sit here and say he can't win at Talladega, but he would unfortunately be probably in my first three out. The honorable mention I wanted to give was Noah Gragson at Talladega last year. In this race, he finished fourth, the highest out of all of the winless Cup drivers. So Noah's also a guy that's in that category, and for that reason, you have Zane, Noah, Todd, Riley. There's all those guys I feel the same way that could steal one at Talladega, and unfortunately, that warrants Riley being in the last three selections for me, unfortunately, as much as I love him.
Yeah, I think Quiggs' point is good too. Like, out of this whole group, none of them are considered top three threats in any they all have a chance to win on any track. I get that, but they're not considered pre-race top three threats, whereas Zilich will be but at least considered a top 3 to 5 threat at road courses, particularly by the end of this season.
It's so awesome to me that this is even a storyline because, like having the parity where we can potentially have all these guys, 4 or 5 different drivers that could theoretically win as soon as the next couple weeks at these tracks is super intriguing and a fun storyline to watch for. And I don't take that for granted.
Yeah, no, it's good. All right, so what do we got? No trucks this week. They pick back up on May 1st in Texas. So 2 weeks off for the trucks. O'Reilly has the Kansas Lottery 300 on Saturday. Coverage starts at 7 p.m. on the CW. Cole Custer will be wheeling the single zero, and William Byron will be in the 88 for Junior Motorsports. And then Cup has season race number 9 of 36, the Advent Health 400 on Sunday at 2 p.m. on Fox. Kyle Larson sat on the pole here and won the spring race. Kyle Busch has the most starts here with 36, and Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Austin Dillon all made their first NASCAR Cup Series career start at Kansas Speedway. As far as qualifying, Christopher Bell leads all active NASCAR Cup Series drivers in the polls at Kansas Speedway with 4, 2022, 2023, and in this 2024 sweep. So that's what we have going in there, so there's nothing left to do except to pick some winners. And that's brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized gaming operator of NASCAR, is delivering the most generous rewards in the market no matter what happens on the track. Because this isn't a race you bet and forget, it's the one you react to. With DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're not betting what might happen, you're betting what's happening. Lap by lap, caution by caution, live odds, stage winners, fastest lap, next driver to lead. As the pack tightens, as strategies shift, as engines roar. One restart can change everything. One pit stop can flip the field. So don't just watch the unexpected, bet it. And new sportsbook customers, bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Rubbin so you're ready for the moment. That's code Rubbin for new sportsbook customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. I have a couple of bets that are not, well, they're chalky because they're very low odds, but I don't think that we're going to have any dupes. So if you guys don't mind, I'm probably going to go first.
Please do.
I got Ryan Blaney as the top Ford at plus 135. Again, short odds. I've been winning these short odds things, by the way. I hit 2 on Tyler Reddick, and I got the top 5 with Gibbs last week. So Ryan Blaney, top Ford, really chalky, plus 135. I have Chase Briscoe, plus 115 for a top 5. I have Bubba Wallace, plus 120 for a top 10. And I have Christopher Bell, my chalky race winner, at plus 550. Bell to win, Bubba top 10, Briscoe top 5, and Blaney top Ford. I have nobody on my card whose last name does not begin with a B, except for Bubba. But you know what I'm saying.
You got it.
All right, that's it for me. What do you got?
I'm happy to go next, and there's a play I absolutely fucking adore this week.
Go.
I previously kind of dumped on Chase Elliott earlier in the season because I said he's a guy that's not capable of winning races. And the Chase Elliott we've come to love recently is a guy that just finishes races consistently good, which is still valuable. But obviously that was a little bit unfair to Chase Elliott, who won shortly thereafter. My point is he is 14-1 currently on DraftKings Sportsbook, and he is the second driver in average finishes here at Kansas. In their last 4 races, he has an average start of 15th, which isn't very good, but he's finished second best with an average finish of 7th, meaning he has moved up from where he started to where he finished all of his 4 last races. In that time, that includes 1 win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s for Chase Elliott. I love Chase Elliott this weekend. I think 14-1 is an extremely fair price for him. And hopefully that we can get back to seeing Chase win consistently. Again, I know he won previously this year, but I would love to see it get back to the Chase Elliott we see winning and a threat to win week after week after week. And I think we're headed that direction. Outside of him, I like Alex Bowman, a guy, again, who we're super concerned about, remain concerned about, who has historically been good on this track. Another Hendrick Motorsport driver with good equipment who doesn't start the best. An average start here of 17th over his last 4 races. But guess what? He's finished 11.5, and he's like 6th, I believe, in average finish here. So I like Chase Elliott to win 14-1. I like Alex Bowman for a top 10, plus 260. Alex Bowman has gotten a top 10 in 75% of his recent races here. 3 of the 4 races since 2024, Bowman has finished within the top 10. This is a good opportunity for him. And those are pretty much my plays for this week. Super small card. The other guys I'm intrigued by are SVG and Noah Gragson, who round out the top drivers in average finish here. SVG has an average start of 29th. And he's finished 15th. That's only 2 races worth of data for SVG, but still something to watch. This might be one of those ovals that he is pretty good at. But I'm riding with Bowman and Chase Elliott outright this week, and I will have a pick 6 on social, so stay tuned for that as well. I cashed like $700 worth of pick 6s last week. I hit 5 correct picks to win like 500, and then I hit another one for like 250, 350 on a 3-pick 6 lineup. So we've been hot. Hopefully we can stay hot this week at Kansas.
Griggs, why don't you cool us down with some ridiculous parlay?
I'm going today. Pretty simple this week. And feeding off what Spider said. I like SVG here. And his top 10 odds are plus 650, which seems super high. And there's just been a couple races this year where it's like, this is not an SVG track, and he's coming in 12, 14, something like that I could see him sneaking into the top 10, and it's plus 650 is very long for a
Sweet.
top 10.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot. And then I have an outright of this guy. Has he won? He either won here or came in second. Bubba Wallace. He won. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
he's
is right,
won
he
here.
won it.
We were there, Spider.
Or he got
Yeah, I
his
wanna
first
say
win,
we were
right?
there.
Yeah, 2022.
And I don't know, 2311's been great.
I
think
love that
there's
pick,
a
Quicks.
little bit of pressure on him to get his own win. His car's been good, and it's plus 2200. I like it a lot.
Yeah, no one taking Christopher Bell, huh?
I did.
Oh, my bad. I must have missed that.
I took Bubba top 10, I think, and I took C Bell. What do you got, Moonhead?
I like Larson in Group A. I like Reddick in Group B, and then really otherwise, I would just be piggybacking off of what the three you said. You pretty much covered it, so that's all I've got.
Nobody's chalky with Denny. Denny is the a plus 500. He's the shortest odds on the board.
He's probably going to end up winning.
That's the guy we never talk about. That's
exactly.
The guy who always wins.
Yeah, exactly. All righty, guys. That's it for us. Thank you again to Todd Gilliland. Thank you, as always, to Cuervo and DraftKings and Shady Rays for their continued support. And we'll see you guys all next week on Rubbin is Racing.
So long.